This is CBC Here and Now.
And it started to pull me to the left, so on a two-lane highway it was actually pulling me into oncoming traffic.
Driver beware. What are the risks of replacing high-tech windshields? A man from CBS learns the hard way. Power rates are set to rise. How much more will you have to pay starting on the 1st of July?
I went in to get some more grapes, and there and behold was a little spider on top of them. What I discovered is it was a western black widow spider.
A potentially deadly spider found crawling in the fruit that she brought home from the grocery store. And it turns out she's not alone. Good evening, I'm Anthony Germain. Debbie is off tonight. Well, if you have a newer vehicle with advanced safety features, you're going to want to pay attention to this. A man from Conception Bay South is warning people who own cars with collision avoidance and lane assist technology to be aware when they replace the windshield. It's not as easy as it used to be, and now it could actually be a safety hazard. The CBC's consumer watchdog, Yvonne Colbert, reports.
Mike Ash of Conception Bay South says the safety features provided by the Advanced Driver Assistance System in his 2016 Acura was a key factor in buying it. Among other things, it keeps him in his lane and prevents him from getting too close to other vehicles.
So I was aware of the technology. I knew its advantages. They were pretty clear. It is a safety feature that can help protect the consumer.
And that's what it did until he needed a windshield replacement. The new technology relies on a number of sensors, one of them a camera attached to the windshield. Ash knew that, but he did not know the camera had to be recalibrated after the windshield replacement in order for the technology to work properly and safely. He says a speedy technician did point out the camera and suggest he have it checked the next time he was at his dealership.
Well, a couple days later, when I was driving the vehicle, my wife typically drives the vehicle, I was driving on the highway and I had the system engaged, and it started to pull me to the left, so on a two-lane highway it was actually pulling me into oncoming traffic.
Ash was able to steer back into his lane, but when it happened a second time, he started asking questions. In fine print, his invoice noted the camera may not operate properly until it's recalibrated, and it releases the company from any liability if there are damages because it wasn't done. This speedy video shows what can happen when the camera is not correctly aligned. A spokesperson for Speedy's parent company, Belron Canada, says staff is required to tell customers the camera must be recalibrated. That's essential, according to this car expert.
To recalibrate is critical to the operation of the processor so that you can avoid accidents, whether it be front, side, rear, regardless.
Mike Ash thinks owners should be explicitly informed about the potential risk by the dealer at the time of sale, in the vehicle's owner's guide, and when the windshield is replaced. Doug Bethune says whenever a vehicle with this technology has work done, the owner should ask, has this compromised the safety of my car? Yvonne Colbert, CBC News, Halifax.
A 41-year-old man was killed this morning while doing road work south of Lodge Bay in southern Labrador. It happened at Johnson's construction camp. The company is upgrading the nearby Trans-Labrador Highway. RCMP and Occupational Health and Safety is investigating the incident, and this comes after several recent workplace accidents. Last month, a man was killed after falling from a downtown construction site in St. John's, and earlier this week, an explosion in Mount Pearl left 3 people injured. Police say the man killed is from Pond Cove, a small community on the Northern Peninsula. Well, it's not the news we want to deliver going into the weekend, but power rates are going up again. Here and Now's Megan McCabe has been crunching the numbers for you, and she joins us live. So Megan, how much more are we all going to be zapped?
What could add up to a couple $100s a year on your power bill. Newfoundland Power announced today that its request for a rate hike has been granted. So residential rates will go up an average of 6.6%, up to a little over 8% for commercial rates. And the rate increase comes into effect July 1st, right on the Canada Day long weekend. So for every $100 a month you pay Newfoundland Power, there'll be an extra $6.60, which adds up, especially when money's already tight.
Not very good for me because it's more expensive.
Less food, I guess.
Less food. Less income.
Yeah.
Yeah, less coffees, hey?
Less coffee,
Yeah,
less smokes.
Yeah, it's too hard to live.
Hard enough to live now, let alone when it goes up.
Well, I think 6.6% is a significant increase that when you add that on to our bills that we have all the time, I mean, that's a lot. And, how they justify that, I'm not exactly sure, but it seems to be a significant increase, and I think that's going to be hard for a lot of people to really fit into budgets.
So, Megan, how is Newfoundland Power justifying this?
By blaming Newfoundland and Labrador Hydro, really, because it buys its power from the public utility. Newfoundland Power gets roughly 93% of its power from hydro, and then it distributes it. So that's why most of us pay our bills to NF Power. Hydro applied to the Public Utilities Board for a general rate increase, so not connected to Muskrat Falls. The Crown Corporation says it's for maintenance, overall rising costs. Once Hydro was given permission to charge more, NF Power needed to do the same. With this 6.6% rate hike, on top of last summer's 8.1% spike, most people will be paying almost 15% more for power have been paying almost 15% more for power over the past 2 years. And it's only expected to get worse. Hydro's applying for another rate increase next year for January. Rates are expected to nearly double in a few years when Muskrat Falls is set to come online, and triple by 2040. Reporting live for Here and Now, I'm Megan McCabe in St. John's.
Provincial Finance Minister says he's discouraged that the federal government's equalization formula is not going to change. The feds announced this week that they are extending the current formula until 2024. And under that formula, our province does not qualify for payments before Christmas. Tom Osborne had argued the province deserves a better deal.
Obviously disappointed that our province has not qualified for equalization. And when you look at other provinces, even neighbouring provinces such as Nova Scotia, who receive equalization and have, much closer to balanced budgets than we've had in this province, we're certainly open to that discussion. We're also open to discussions on the Atlantic Accord renegotiation, which expire in March of 2019. We've got a very large geography, one of the most widely dispersed populations in all of the country. We've got very rural areas, so this province is expensive to maintain when you look at other provinces with smaller geographies and twice the population.
A St. John's woman got a nasty surprise when she opened her fridge this week. She found a potentially deadly 8-legged visitor on some of the produce that she bought at a local grocery store. Here Now's Mark Quinn reports.
This is what Amy Copeland found in her Airport Heights kitchen this week. It looks like a tiny, benign spider, but it's not. Copeland found this unwelcome visitor days after she put some grapes in her fridge.
I went in to get some more grapes, and there and behold was a little spider on top of them. So I kind of got a little fright, but I'm not too scared of spiders.
Here's another shot of the creepy interloper that Copeland found. Its appearance has changed because it shed its exoskeleton. The grapes came from a St. John's grocery store, but Copeland doesn't want to scare people away, so she's not saying which one.
The grapes were from Mexico, and so when I Googled grape spider from Mexico, what I discovered is it was a western black widow spider.
Copeland, who clearly has nerves of steel, nudged the spider into this plastic juice bottle and then brought the spider here to veterinarian Leslie Steele.
For whatever great reason, they didn't kill her. They put her in a great terrarium that they made for her and brought her to us.
You might just overlook it or flatten it with a shoe without a second thought, but this red marking on her underside is what distinguishes this spider from the average friendly spider.
Apparently, they are the most venomous spider found in North America. They only bite when they're agitated, but when agitated, they could actually inject enough venom that an infant could be killed, apparently.
Both Steele and Copeland had hoped this rare specimen would be saved and maybe put on display at the Salmon Nature Park. But provincial wildlife officials worry someone might get hurt, so they're killing this black widow to protect the public. Mark Quinn, CBC News, St. John's.
Now, if you are an arachnophobe, we do have something of an unsettling update for you. It seems that the St. John's black widow wasn't alone.
No, Mark Quinn spoke with Fisheries and Land Resources this afternoon, who says a second spider was reported in Clarenville. That was just one day after the first one was found.
Now, we wanted to know, as was raised in the story, how is a spider humanely destroyed? Because obviously it's not with the back of a shoe. It's usually done with ethyl acetate or freezing, and the 2 spiders found this week were frozen and will be forwarded to the province's wildlife research group, and they'll be held in what's called the biodiversity collection. I guess that's a freezer for the time being.
And if you're also kind of wondering, how did those black widows get here in the first place? Well, we spoke to Coleman's about the route produce takes to reach the island, and we know those grapes, they came from Mexico before likely being carted off the USADA to California. From there, they would have made their way to Toronto and to a major produce terminal where those fruits and veggies are sold, off to Nova Scotia before being loaded on the ferry and tucked across the island. Oh my goodness, it's quite the journey. There they go, across the island, right here into her fridge. You know, it almost makes me feel like just a little bit, because I'm allergic to spiders.
Oh,
but
really?
Just
Okay.
To some. I feel almost sorry, you know, it
Right.
traveled so far away from its
I
family.
know. It's too bad it couldn't collect air miles. It's quite the distance. Anyhow, frozen spiders.
Yes, frozen spiders, but you know what, it probably kind of enjoyed that journey.
It's probably because the weather was so good, it decided to come to Newfoundland.
Yeah, there you go, right?
That's the segue.
Let's just hope we can keep it that way, is usually what comes next. Yeah, we can go ahead and look at some of the temperatures. It was, you know, a pretty decent day. It wasn't maybe as warm as our first day of summer yesterday, but it's what's coming tomorrow that I think most folks are going to be pretty excited about, especially as we are headed into the weekend. Just having a look here, though, these are some of the current, or rather the highs from today. And I do want to point out, if you have a look and you think, well, it doesn't really feel like that right now in St. John's, we reached that high right around the lunch hour, just before the lunch hour, actually. And then the temperature kind of fell, and then it started to pull back up again. So that's what's really been happening through here in terms of the day with the temperature. The wind's picking up, and now we have some mist through the area. Elsewhere, though, towards Badger, we see we've got I'm sorry, it's Friday. I just thought we'd have a little bit of fun. Don't worry, they're going to send me back to Toronto and not let me stay, even though I would like to. Just having a little fun with you. All right.
That one wasn't frozen.
No, that one is just having some fun here. And probably right now is going to get back at me and be in the grapes that I have in my fridge at home at this moment. All right, so having a look at the mist that I was talking about. So we had a few little showers, central regions, pushing over towards St. John's. So that is something just to know that out there, a little bit of a kind of, it's almost that spitting that we sort of get. So very, very light stuff. Take you in, though, just for a closer look of what's happening currently. As you can see, some of that really, just be prepared for it, but there's just so little there that it's not a big deal. And moving out, and then a beautiful day tomorrow. What about Sunday? Another story, and I'll tell you all about that when I come back. Anthony.
Thanks, Colette. The Atlantic Salmon Federation is weighing in on the environmental impact statement submitted by the group proposing a salmon farming operation in Placentia Bay. The Federation says the provincial government should reject Grieg's EIS and send the company back to the drawing board. It says the future of the province's wild salmon population is at stake.
Well, we think it's highly deficient. They haven't really met the criteria that they were given by the Environmental Assessment Division. First of all, they have made no effort to collect original data on wild salmon in Placentia Bay, even though it's a requirement of the EIS. And we're also concerned in particular about the lack of monitoring programs that they've proposed.
A man was robbed in the east end of St. John's last night outside a bank ATM. The RNC say the man who had been using the machine was slightly injured when he was confronted by more than one robber. The suspects ran away from the area, and for now, the police are not saying exactly where the robbery happened. Police are asking for help in the case of a missing man from Paradise. The family of 33-year-old Trevor Hamlin first reported him missing on Tuesday, but he was last seen Saturday afternoon. Now, the RNC is asking anyone in the area of Imogen Crescent in Paradise with CCTV cameras to contact them. His family says they're very concerned because he doesn't have a working cell phone and his wallet was found at this home.
We found out that he's been involved with some gambling, but nothing outstanding, just like he's been playing in poker groups and that. He's always done that for a while. But the fact that no one knows where he's to is just strange for him to just vanish.
The new francophone school in St. John's shouldn't just be a place for kids to learn. That's the consensus that emerged from the first of several public meetings held last night. The director of the province's francophone school board says people want a new school to include some community center space as well as a daycare. Last year, junior and senior high students from l'École des Grands Vents were moved into the former Holy Cross Junior High School to ease overcrowding. And that sparked a wave of criticism from parents and later some promises from then Education Minister Dale Kirby to build a new French school within 5 years.
They want a green space. They want adequate, they want an infrastructure that's going to meet the needs of high school students, a large gymnasium, science labs, and to have a community center that's going to meet the needs of all the community, the extended francophone community and not just the students.
And now to some news that CBC Newfoundland and Labrador is especially proud to share with you. CBC NL is the winner of this year's Inclusion Award for Media from the Coalition of Persons with Disabilities.
The outstanding efforts and months of work that Ramona and Jen put together show a high degree of commitment to the issues of inclusion and access, and we applaud their work, the extensive research and the depth of experiences they drew on to make their series authentic and meaningful.
Now, Ramona Deering and Jen White worked on CBC's Access Denied series. As you'll recall, it focused on accessibility issues for people who live with a variety of disabilities. And that series was available on all CBC platforms, and a lot of that coverage ran right here on Here and Now. Executive producer Peter Gullidge, see his handsome face right there, he accepted the award on Jen's behalf, and so a big congratulations to the entire team.
People in this province are becoming more and more interested in doing the same. That's coming up.
Welcome back. People in this province are growing more and more interested in harvesting their own food. That's according to a nearly self-sufficient couple who live outside Mobile on the southern shore. They've got their own animals and a garden, and now they are growing a crop of online followers. Here Now's Katie Breen has this report.
Welcome to the McBride homestead.
Yeah, we'll plant that one today. We've got some goldenrod to weed out of here too, I think.
Initially, and it seems like a lifetime ago, but we were both living in East Vancouver, you know, working 40 hours a week, you know, not knowing anyone in our community or any of the members of our community, and it just all kind of blossomed from there.
The McBrides trekked across the country about 10 years ago, settling on St. John's because of the more affordable housing market. They already had goats and a garden, but decided they wanted to go bigger.
We have a homestead here where we try to take care of our own needs as much as we can.
They moved just outside Mobile on the southern shore, where land was cheap and livestock rules weren't so strict. They're trying to go even more off the grid, and making their own food is a big part of that. Today's task, create another bee colony.
We're looking for fresh eggs, just tiny little white dots in the center of the honeycomb, which is eggs that have just been laid. And when we find enough of those, what we do is we move one of those frames over to a new hive. What'll happen is the workers will recognize there's no queen in the new box, and they'll take one of the baby eggs. They'll feed it royal jelly, and that will begin the process that'll make sure that the egg hatches as a queen. Okay, here you go.
Some extra inspection, then the frame gets put into its own box. Eventually, it'll become its own functioning bee society, and the McBrides will get more honey. It's a lot of work, but there's still time to kid around.
This is what I do on my sunny days. When everyone's napping, I just kind of come down and relax. I'll come in, usually with a cup of coffee, and we'll all lay down and have a big cuddle sesh.
Of course, the goats serve a more practical purpose too. The McBrides milk them. They get about 3 liters a day, and what they don't drink, they turn into other types of dairy goodness, like cheese, ice cream, and yogurt.
In our province, we do import over 90% of the food that comes in, and I think it's something like 3 days before we wouldn't have any food if there was a big old national disaster or anything. So we really wanted to look at what we could do, you know, personally.
They grow veggies, cut wood, and keep rabbits. They have a quack shack full of ducks and eggs, and there's turkeys. Each one has a name, and then at some point, they eat them.
That's definitely the toughest part. That's definitely the toughest part, and that is the part that's really challenged our convictions to DIY food. But at the end of the day, what made it possible was simply considering the lives that they would live here in the homestead, where the animals would be free to live their lives as naturally as they could, to be happy, to be fed, to bask in the sunshine.
Making most of their own food means the McBrides can scale back on their more conventional jobs. And that lifestyle is interesting to a lot of people in the province. Their Facebook group, Backyard Farming and Homesteading NL, has almost 11,000 members.
Well, it starts off with chickens. Of course, everybody's gateway to DIY food is usually a couple chickens in the backyard, but it's different for everybody. So did you take that one? I saw a documentary a while ago where a famous chef basically asked a group of school kids to identify foods. And in many cases, a lot of kids couldn't identify an eggplant or even a potato. And I think part of that is why homesteading is becoming so popular and why DIY food is becoming so popular is simply that we recognize that our connection to our food has been cut.
With popularity growing, the McBrides are hosting a DIY day, Homesteadapalooza. It'll be 20 workshops under one roof, covering things like homemade honey, backyard chickens, fur dyeing, and foraging. It's expected to happen in September.
I think it's going to give everyone a really good opportunity to get used to just the light waters of different subjects, see if it's something that they're interested in, bringing it directly to the person so that they can kind of get a feel for it before maybe jumping in.
Katie Breen, CBC News, just outside Mobile.
Some women are lacing up for charity this weekend, but they're doing it for more than just money. That's coming up on Here and Now.
Well, when I managed to get out today, another sunny day.
Yeah, really nice,
Thank
right?
you.
It started out a little bit kind of cloudy and we had to stick with that. But
This
then,
afternoon.
oh yeah, those clouds breaking up and just
Yep.
a beautiful afternoon.
If I'd known you were going to bring this, I would have had Ryan fired ages ago.
Yeah, so this is how it goes, right? I get all this credit now and then nobody wants to talk to me probably next week. We'll kind of see about that. I hope not too, but wait till you see the forecast.
All right.
Let's go ahead and have a look though at the moment at what's going on, because let's concentrate on the positive and the moment. Let's stay in the moment here and looking at our current temperatures, where we're seeing St. Lawrence at 17 degrees. For folks who are watching us from Badger, it's 18 degrees. We do have a little pocket of some shower activity. I'm going to show you on the radar just a moment. Mostly it's very light stuff or a little bit of mist, but it is having an impact on those of you in Gander, where it's currently 14 degrees. The temperature just dropping a little bit with that shower activity that's moving through. St. Anthony at 15. Just a beautiful setup for the day for tomorrow. I do want to show you some of the temperatures though a little further north. Labrador City, we had some of those rain showers that have been kind of the last few hours back. They started to kind of die off and push further to the east, but it's setting you up for a cold night overnight without that cloud cover to provide any kind of a blanket. And so any of that daytime heating, that's going to leave you, and there's that risk of frost tonight and probably into tomorrow night as well, but at least during the day it means you have sunshine. Current sustained winds, so these are not the gusts. They've been fluctuating quite a bit through the Avalon. We've been seeing that a little bit stronger back towards the west, and off and on a little stronger into Labrador. We're going to see them really picking up there though into tomorrow, where we're going to get gusts there and for the island starting to go up as we're looking at our future wind gusts. Those gusts up towards 50, even 60 kilometers an hour. They'll begin to ease off towards western Labrador, but continuing for the island and into the afternoon hours, because this is just taking you through tonight. If you look at what happens as we get into tomorrow, let's keep pushing this forward here for you. The winds start to pick up, and as they increase, we'll find that into the afternoon hours they're going to be up there that 60 to 70 kilometers an hour. But at least they're from that southwesterly direction, so it does mean that's pumping those temperatures up as well. There's that radar. I did want to just show you what's happening here. Very light showers. In fact, they're starting to dissipate a little bit towards Gander, a little bit of mist showing up towards St. John's as well, and so you could just get a bit of a sprinkle or that kind of spitting from the sky that sometimes comes, and you wonder, what did I do to deserve that? It's light stuff. It's not a big deal. Taking that forward for you, we see that moves out. This is the setup as we're taking you overnight into Saturday, and that setup with high pressure in place means sunshine, but also the southwesterly flow, although breezy, means warm temperatures. We'll get to those in a second for tomorrow afternoon. I want to show you though too, Labrador, that you as well will be into some of this sunshine and looking good, other than in the extreme north. So here you are, our afternoon outlook. This is the first half of the weekend. So for Saturday, 13 degrees, those winds breezy from the west across Labrador, 16 Happy Valley, Goose Bay, and it looks like 7 degrees, I'm sorry, further north. We are looking at still some cool air. Cartwright though, 12 degrees for you through there. But look at some of the temperatures across the island. Central areas, as we might expect, yes, really getting the warmth there. So you're going to head into those mid-20s, 25 for Grand Falls, Windsor, Port aux Basques, 14 degrees, a little cooler, breezy for Marystown at 19, Gander 23, and even for the Northern Peninsula, it's looking pretty decent at 17 degrees. And yes, I've got a little bit of fog here, so into the morning, maybe a little bit of mist, but mostly you'll see some patchy fog for the Avalon. That's going to burn off very, very quickly because of that high pressure, giving us that sinking air, that stable air, and it's going to help us up to that high temperature tomorrow afternoon of 21 degrees, Anthony.
Businesses in the Gut want fewer cars in Quidi Vidi Village, and starting today, that could actually happen. The Link bus line is now offering hop-on, hop-off passes for single riders as well as groups. And this weekend, passengers get to ride for free. The Link will connect Signal Hill and Quidi Vidi with the rest of the downtown. 2 buses will run Wednesdays to Sundays until the end of September. And the folks at Mallard Cottage hope that fewer cars will mean less congestion.
We think the biggest issue we have is the number of cars. I've always said, if you build a 150 car parking lot in Quidi Vidi Village, there'll be 300 people trying to park there. So it's not about necessarily creating more spaces, but it's about creating alternatives to move people that aren't all driving individual vehicles. We're talking about bringing people to Quidi Vidi Village, not bringing cars to Quidi Vidi Village.
Well, hundreds are expected at Quidi Vidi Lake this weekend for the annual Run for Women, which raises money for women's charities. But a small group of this year's runners never imagined that they'd be crossing the finish line. Here now's Malone Mullen explains why.
Running, I just forget about everything. This is Ashley Pierce.
a St. John's mom who, like millions across the country, dealt with loneliness, depression, and substance use.
It wasn't so great before. I was pretty lonely and depressed and stuff and felt like, I was against the world. It was just me.
Today, she's back on her feet, thanks in part to running. For the past 2 months, she's been training with 6 other women, all trying to outpace their own demons.
It's definitely changed my life for the better. I met a lot of great people and they're fantastic. They go above and beyond to help people out and they're like family to me.
They're lacing up for the big day, a 5K run around Kitty Vitty Lake.
For the past 8 weeks, we've been working with a group of women, all different ages, all different sizes, all different abilities, and just learning to run.
Cardio works for some battling addictions, anxiety, or depression, but it's not a solution for everyone. Amy Shepard knows that, which is why it's small steps for her group.
Some of the women, this is their first time engaging in any kind of exercise. So there's been one woman who's been walking with us. She's not running. She's now able to walk through the grocery store. Usually she has to take breaks when she's at the grocery store. And it's been just so great to see her self-confidence rise. Her mental health is improving and her physical health is improving.
So I'm about to run with you guys, and I'm not a runner, so what do I need to know before we do this?
So you don't need to be a runner. We're just gonna go have a fun time, just easy pace, and when we're done, you're gonna feel great.
All right, let's give it a shot.
Let's go!
For Ashley, asking for help was hard.
At first I was like thinking, there's no hope. I wanted to give up and I wanted just to quit. And I said, no, well, give it up, it's too easy.
But she wants people to know it's been done before.
My advice to him is just don't give up and go for it. Like if you think that it's possible and you can do something with your life and better your life, I think you should just go for it.
The big day is this Sunday when about 1,000 people will run this same track. Some will do it to help a good cause, but at least 7 of them will be doing it for themselves and for each other. Malone Mullen, CBC News, St. John's.
Glenn Payette's been covering justice for 3 decades. Well, his ship has sailed. He's retiring. Nice one.
Glenn Payette, CBC News, St. John's. Glenn Payette, CBC News, St. John's. Glenn Payette, CBC News, St. John's.
Well, you likely know his one-of-a-kind sign-off. When we come back, we'll look back over Glenn Payette's remarkable career. Welcome back to Here and Now. Well, tonight we are wishing our colleague Glenn Payette a happy retirement. Glenn has worked for CBC for, get this, 34 years, and he's filed nearly 2,600 television reports. Now, as you probably know, he mainly focused on the courts and justice system, but he also covered some of the biggest crime cases in the province. But he also was a very busy guy earlier in his career covering breaking news. He seemed to have a thing for severe weather and bad storms, and he also found quirky stories to put smiles on people's faces. He's been honored with a number of awards over his career, from the Atlantic Journalism Association, the Canadian Bar Association, and the New York Festival's Television Awards. So tonight, while Glenn is on the golf course, and I can tell you he certainly is, we're going to take a look back at his remarkable career.
After Saturday's crash, Lieutenant Faircross was taken to hospital for observation and released a few hours later. He says tests will have to be carried out to see if it was the weapon used in the attack. With 2 months of winter left, it's a safe bet that schools will be closed again because of bad weather. The skin burned away from Stamp's body, disfiguring him, changing him.
I'm here, but it's not me.
It's alleged that he wrote prescriptions for people for OxyContin, that they sold some of the drugs and gave some back to him. That's Dr. Sean Buckingham talking to Randy Druken. The quality of the wiretap may not be the best, but the message is clear. Watch what you say. It only took firefighters about 4 minutes to arrive on the scene. But what they didn't know right away is that there was someone inside. Hey buddy, it's a bedroom right there. That's his bedroom. When they got him out, it was clear he was unconscious and they would have to act quickly. He was alive when he left here?
He was alive when he left here, sir.
If I thought for 1 second that you was guilty, I would have left you for longer.
Nelson Hart was convicted in 2007 of drowning his 2 daughters in Gander Lake. Hart's appeal was supposed to be heard today, but it was stopped before it got started.
You won't get off that easy. You son of a bitch. May you rot.
That was an outburst from Chrissy Preda-Newman's aunt just after she learned Ray Newman had been acquitted. It happened because the defense was successful in keeping out the Crown's key evidence, and there was no likelihood of a conviction. Regina Kasper-Coltis is at the center of this tale. She's accused of breaking into the house in August of 2015. It's owned by Barry McCarthy.
End up coming from Bullarn from work, and here's a lady staying in my house, sleeping in my bed.
Glenn Payette, CBC News. St. John's. 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 St. John's.
So I guess, Glenn, you're going to have a lot more time in the near future to actually play a little golf?
Yes, and I'm looking forward to it.
You've had a remarkable career. I mean, 3 decades of covering crime, seeing the worst that people can do to other people. How does it affect a person?
You know, people have been asking me that. How do you see those pictures all the time? They're graphic. How do you listen to that testimony? How do you hear victim impact statements? They're so powerful. And the truth of it is, you internalize it a lot, and eventually, at some point, during certain things, and I think it's accumulative, it comes out. I have cried at times. I have lost sleep. So I did story about Pat Stamp, a gentleman who was badly burnt on the ship Comatic. Right. He was a welder. Fumes exploded. His best friend Wayne Dalton was killed. He lost lung capacity, and I went over to interview him. It really affected me emotionally. Right. I got back to the newsroom, and our then senior producer Doug Leto asked me, "How did it go?" I broke down. Right away, I just started to cry. What this man had been through really hit me. And that has happened at other times. It happened during the Ann Norris trial, when I was listening to the testimony of her father on the stand, talking about how, in her delusion, she thought that he had been sexually molesting her, and it wasn't true. It simply never happened. It does. It impacts you.
Given the severity of what it is to cover justice and to cover courts, it's going to sound like an odd question to non-journalists, but what have you enjoyed the most about covering justice and justice issues?
I've enjoyed the drama. As I've told people all along, I like telling stories, and you get amazing stories from court. Obviously they're not, most of them aren't very happy stories, but they are, they are human stories. They're about the human condition. They're about the most intense emotions we can feel. And that's why, telling those stories is just a wonderful part of what I've been able to do.
somebody's watching this saying, okay, when is Anthony going to ask him about the sign-off? All right, so what's with St. John's?
It totally just happened. It was not contrived, what people think. It came out of the blue, and in fact, I didn't know I was doing it until people started pointing it out to me. I've had many people over the years come up to me now and do it and say, one woman came up to me in Walmart and said, the family, we wait for it. We wait for it, we're going, and when we do it with you, when you go to do it, we all sit around and do it. I had a guy run up to me in the village mall. My wife and I had been in a pet store, and I didn't know what he was going to do. He came tearing up to me, and he planted himself. I thought he was going to hit me, right? Did I cover you in quarters? That could happen. Cover you in quarters? He said, and he stopped and he went, Glen Payette, CBC News, St. John. Oh, jeez, I didn't know what it was.
Well, listen, it's been fabulous working with you these years. I'm going to let you have the final word in the only way you can. I'm Anthony Germain, and he's
Glen Payette, CBC News, St. John's.
Congratulations, Glenn. And this is the weather that Glenn is enjoying on Ballyhaley Golf Course right now. Hope he's playing with a colorful golf ball. Sun should be out a little bit though. How are things looking for the weekend? Well, Colette's spider-free forecast is next. Okay, let's meet the first of our two athletes. Our first young athlete of the day is Joseph Hutchings, and Joseph is from St. John's.
And Joseph loves to play hockey with his friends, and his favorite position is defense. We need good defensemen. Hey, keep up the good work, Joseph, and congratulations.
And our next athlete of the day, Noah Pickett, absolutely loves hockey. He plays with the Labrador West Lakers in novice C level, and Noah spends as much time as he can on the ice, and he is a true Toronto Maple Leafs fan.
And Noah recently, as you can see, got to touch the Stanley Cup. One dream checked off he's already got a bucket list. Congratulations to you, Noah.
Yeah, So someday you might actually get to play for that chalice.
Oh, wouldn't that be something, right?
Yep.
Yeah. I took my mother for her birthday to the Hockey Hall of Fame, and yeah, we both got to touch the cup. It happened to be there at the time.
Very good. Bit of fog I saw before the break in the Narrows.
Yeah, so we are seeing a little bit of fog and some mist. It's kind of spitting out there of the sky a little bit, as we put it, when it's so light like that. We can go ahead and show you what's going on, though, in terms of some of the temperatures that we're seeing along with those sky conditions, because the current temperatures, if you just look over to the far left side of your screen there, have a look at northwestern Ontario. It's nearly 30 degrees. They've been into those heat advisories. I've sort of been talking about that this week. Not much, because it's not our weather, but the point just being that some of that warmth spreading our way as that ridge of high pressure is coming our way too, and giving us this really lovely weather that we're seeing as we head into Saturday. I'm going to talk about Sunday too, but I do want to point out the temperatures dropped again down to 5 degrees in St. John's with that fog and the mist, and we're going to see some patchy fog all the way into tomorrow morning, but it will burn off for us, so don't worry too much about that. At the moment, if we look back to how we're doing into the Maritimes and our friends and family there, they're all sitting there in the low to mid 20s, so some good stuff there. This was that ridge of high pressure. It's to the south of us. As it moves off to the east, we get clockwise circulation around that high pressure. That's going to push these winds in from the southwest, but that is a milder air mass coming in. It's going to be breezy. We're going to see those winds more westerly for Labrador and quite breezy into tomorrow as well. Some showers, yes, will be coming in for the northern peninsula, just some light convective stuff. Then that moves off. Otherwise, it's a beautiful sunny day. Have a look, though, as I'm taking you from Saturday, overnight Saturday into Sunday morning. We see the warm front move in. Out ahead of it, we get some more rainfall. But not only that, look at how the clouds begin to roll in. So the cloud cover coming in, all this precipitation just to the south of us. And then into Sunday afternoon and evening, you see it moves almost due east, almost from west to east, as opposed to pushing that much further north as that system is rolling in that direction. So we will see some wet weather coming through, and you're going to see that in the 5-day forecast here in just a moment, where we can get a better look at the whole weekend. But I just wanted you to know about that we may get an okay start to the day, even though there'll be some clouds on Sunday for the Avalon, and then we'll start to see that chance of precipitation increasing. Into the long range, as we just take a look at the outlook for you, it looks like one afternoon decent, but prior to that, we do have some unsettled conditions in there, and so I do have a chance of showers in the forecast at the beginning of the week, but it's not that you're going to notice. It's the colder air that's going to move in that you will notice. So western Labrador, 13, some frost overnight tonight, and that risk look tomorrow night down to 0, so that risk as well. Otherwise, some nice temperatures. It is seeming summer-like. Eastern Labrador, breezy. Just keep that in mind for tomorrow. Those winds from the west. Otherwise, pretty nice sky conditions. Certainly nice sky conditions. Western, central, and eastern Newfoundland for tomorrow. It's Sunday that we have the rain showers that'll be moving in. Central areas tomorrow, you're headed up to 25. It's into Monday. The cool down comes in, and Sunday's kind of in between. And this is a look at us for St. John's. Some morning fog, as I said, breezy conditions. Otherwise, just a fabulous day Saturday, and not the end of the world on Sunday. Anthony.
Thank you, Colette. An emotional reunion today at the Baltimore airport. A mother and her son are back together after more than a month apart. U.S. border agents split them up for entering the country illegally. Now, her name is Beata Mariana and his is Darwin. They are from Guatemala. And you can hear the boy, the 7-year-old boy, telling his mother, "Te amo," which means he loves her.
Oh boy, this is a great one. Have a look at this. Now, where could this be? In Newfoundland or Labrador? Do you have a guess, Anthony? We haven't been doing. I think you won once this week.
That's Otter Cove, not to be confused with Outer Cove.
Well, not necessarily, but we'll give you half. We'll give you half points. We'll tell you where this is exactly when we return.
Well, a woman from British Columbia proves it's never too late to follow your dreams. At an amazing 92 years of age, Joan Debank finally received her high school diploma.
Can't believe it. I really can't believe it. At my age, I never thought it would happen.
Now, Debank never got the opportunity to finish school. When she was just 13 years of age in the Depression era in England, her father pulled her out of school, had to get a job. And 2 years later, she lied about her age and joined the army during the Second World War. And that's where she met her husband. The two moved to Canada in 1959, where they would start their family. And Nanaimo officials say she is the oldest diploma recipient that they're aware of. And Debank's daughter says she hopes her mother's success inspires others to go back to school as well.
Oh, I love it.
Isn't
And
that
I
great?
love some of those pictures are great too.
I know.
And speaking of looking at some pictures, it is Friday.
It is Friday.
It's time to celebrate some birthdays and anniversaries.
Dulcie Ivany, a dedicated Here and Now viewer from Winterbrook, celebrates her 92nd birthday on Sunday. Congratulations. Harry and Judy Coates from beautiful Codroy Valley celebrated 50 years of marriage yesterday. And Jessie McDonald, originally from Morrisville, Bay d'Espoir, celebrated her 94th birthday on Monday in Gander. On Tuesday, Willis Reed celebrated his 90th birthday with friends and family in Deer Lake. More than 70 people in attendance. Congratulations. And a happy 52nd anniversary to Richard and Joan Ryan from Trepassey. They celebrated last Friday. Happy anniversary to Thomas and Margaret Stamp of Kelligrews. They celebrate 55 years of marriage today.
And a happy anniversary to Clyde and Wavy Oxford in Springdale. They celebrated their 50th last Friday. Happy 62nd anniversary tomorrow to Bill and Betty Hayter. Tom and Mary Lawler will celebrate 60 years together. That's on Sunday. And congratulations to Robert Grant, who turned 99 yesterday. Happy 54th anniversary to Sid and Phyllis Mercer in Dunnville. And a happy 60th wedding anniversary this Sunday to Alfred and Hazel Marsh in Lower Lance Cove, Random Island.
Happy 60th anniversary also this Sunday to Bob and Juanita King in Grand Falls, Windsor. Helen and Roy Pennell in Noggin Cove celebrated their 50th wedding anniversary yesterday. Well done. Also celebrating 50 years of marriage, Bruce and Ivy Akerman, formerly of Mary's Harbour, Labrador, now living in Dildo, Trinity Bay. Percy and Selena Stace in St. Lawrence celebrated their 57th wedding anniversary this Sunday. And a happy 62nd anniversary to Bert and Jean Haynes of Kelligrews, who celebrated on Wednesday. Congratulations and best wishes to Rosemary and Frank Galgay on their upcoming 50th wedding anniversary. That's next Thursday.
And a happy 97th birthday to both Andrew and Jenny Higdon. This is in New Harbour. Wow, get this. Okay, the midwife left from delivering Jenny and went over to deliver Andrew 97 years ago.
Fantastic.
Oh, that's awesome. Happy 50th wedding anniversary yesterday to Bob and Patsy Matthews. And this Monday, it's a happy 60th wedding anniversary to Irene and Don Shano of Dover. Birthday greetings to this 91-year-old angler, Eric Stanley in Clarenville. And a happy 65th wedding anniversary today to Fred and Marie Hancock of Roddickton. Also, happy 84th birthday to Marie, celebrating her birthday today as well. And a happy 93rd birthday to Vera Mercer in Coley's Point. Her big day is coming up on Sunday.
And wishing Tom and Jean Dix a happy 57th wedding anniversary today. And a happy 54th anniversary to Clarence and Nellie Guy in Leading Tickles. Their big day is on Sunday. And a happy anniversary today to Norma and Sonny Savory in Port aux Basques. Also today, happy anniversary to Herb and Myrtis Spurl, who are celebrating their 50th anniversary. And a happy 63rd anniversary to Hilda and Cecil Lewis in Lewisport. And happy wedding anniversary tomorrow to Frank and Enid Sharp in Kelligrews. And a happy 50th anniversary today to Joyce and Herman Callahan in Bonavista. Congratulations, everybody.
Yeah, some great shots in there too.
Beautiful.
I love it, love it.
Okay,
All right.
I want to abridge my answer before the break. I should have said Logie Bay, Middle Cove, Otter Cove. which is an actual community not too far from, almost.
Okay, well, let's see where it is.
Nowhere near there.
I think that is a very reasonable guess. This was Upper Amherst Cove, and we want to thank Michaela Hudson for sending us this one. A beautiful shot of those otters. And yeah, guess where I'm going this weekend?
Going exploring a little bit?
Yeah, Otter Cove.
Otter Cove, why not?
I'm going to go find it.
I hope you have a great weekend, because I look forward to finding out. She's going exploring, so we'll talk about that on Monday.
Whales, icebergs, puffins, whatever you got, I'm coming.
Have a great time, and you have a great weekend.
Good night.